so good to have y'all here today in this beautiful home and this testament to Dale County. We, of course, are part of the Dale County 200 Committee. We've been celebrating Dale County's bicentennial all year long. I know all of you have heard about it. Well, today is a beautiful culmination of that effort. And we get to hear and see in person the writings of our young people and our adults in Dale County that are paying tribute to this beautiful county that we all call home. I'm Susan Judah. I'm part of the committee. There are probably 100 people on the Dale County 200 Committee. So you'll see them walking around and visiting with them today. And you've probably seen all their actions during the year this year. But today is a very special day with us. I'd like to introduce just some special guests. At this moment we have Superintendent Ben Baker and his beautiful wife Tara. We have Mr. Nippy Cosby, who we'll be hearing from later in the program. Such a special guest today. Mr. Cosby and his efforts have made a lot of our fun and entertainment and history possible this year. We have Representative Steve Klaus and his wife Diane, who is a big part of it. And I would like to say that all of you are very special. All of you are very special. At this time, I would like to call on Reverend Edward Douglas to please come up and say our invocation.
Good afternoon, everyone. Let's pray. Father, we thank you for this joyous occasion, this celebration of 200 years of this great county. Every story, every moment, all the legacies of this place is because of you. Father, you have had your hand upon this county. We ask that you continuously bless this county, the leadership, the families, by your grace and by your love. We thank you for what you've done. We rejoice what you're doing, and we celebrate what you're going to do. Father, we ask your blessings upon this ceremony. That as we experience your warmth and your love and your embrace in this place, may they see you shining bright in every heart and every story. We thank you, we love you, and we give you praise. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
And I have to brag on this man of God, Edward Douglas. He was one of my students. He was in 8th grade. He stayed in school. But this is a fine man, and he came back to bless us in Dale County. We appreciate it so much. And the name of your church, Living Covenant Church. And if you can follow him through text messages, it's good too. Do I need to use the microphone? Yes. Do I?
Those front rows you don't.
Okay. Woohoo. Okay. Anyway, so thank you so much, Edward, for being with us today. Does that make me better? Is it? Okay. At this time, we have two very special recognitions to start our day off. And I would like to just call them up when I call their names. First of all, I have Miss Helen Taylor Andrews. Miss Helen Taylor Andrews, please stand up. Y'all, this woman is so very special to Dale County. I don't want to read this for you, Helen. Certificate of recognition presented to Helen Taylor Andrews in recognition of your outstanding contributions to Dale County as a historian, artist, and author. Your dedication to preserving our history, sharing your artistic vision, and enriching our community through your works has had a profound and lasting impact on the citizens of Dale County. With sincere gratitude, we acknowledge your tireless efforts and unwavering commitment to celebrating and documenting our rich heritage in this county. Your work serves as an inspiration, so you can look around, as an inspiration to us all, and we thank you for your continued service and dedication to our community. Presented on behalf of the citizens of Dale County on this day, the Dale County 200 Community, we love you and we so much appreciate how much you mean to Dale County and the history.
Thank you all so much. This is very special. 40 years ago, I showed it the first time at Claiborne in the yard of this mansion. Since then, I have, as y'all know, I have written and painted Dale County. It is my mission in life to just document the life I grew up with Somebody, Judge McGee told us in our writing group one time to write about what you know. I know Dale County. I don't know, anywhere else because I'm from here. And this means so much to me. Thank y'all so much.
And especially for you young people, you can see that how important the work is that you are doing now to preserve the history now and it moving forward, and how important Ms. Helen's work is going to be into the future. Thank you so much. Also, our second special presentation today is for Ms. Berta Blackwell. She could not be here today, but we wanted to recognize Ms. Berta Blackwell as an author in residence for Ozark Dale County. Berta has been a valuable asset to restoring the history, and her work can be seen at the Dale County Library. And at this time, I would like to call her wonderful husband, Billy Blackwell, who is entrenched in Dale County, to accept this for her. And again, the Voices of Dale County, celebrating local artists, recognizes Berta Kingsley Blackwell as author in residence, Ozark Dale County, for her invaluable contribution to preserving local history through the power of the written word.
On behalf of Berta, thank you very much, and of course she loves Dale County, as everybody in this room does. But it's very, very special, so thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, at this time, before we kick off the student writing, we have 2 door prizes. I always like to start with a little bit of trivia about Dale County, so we have 2 questions now. When we went to Kiwanis this year, they all just shouted out answers. They all wanted the door prize so badly because I couldn't bring in a helicopter, because of course that's Dale County, but I did bring in some peanuts. So, all right, here's your door prize, but if you don't mind, and let me see, Heather, where are you, Pat, Pam, Diane? If y'all will look, we see the first person to raise their hand. All right, this is a 2-fold question. 2-fold question. What is Fort Novosel? What is the saying that Fort Novosel is known for?
Paris?
Above the best.
Above the best is the saying, and it is the, close. It is the home of Army Aviation. So, Jeff, right? Congratulations. Home of Army Aviation, and the saying is above the best. So there we go. All right, our second question, and we're really going to have to watch you guys on this. Our second question is, look at this beautiful building that we are in. I mean, it is just a master. It's a testament to Dale County on its own, the hard work of its citizens and the beauty within Dale County. Who, raise your hand, who built this beautiful home? Caitlin?
Well, J.D. Holman, but the Boykins did the woodwork.
Very good. Well, you can tell a little bit about it. J.D. Holman with the help of the Boykin family. And so there were several of them. So, Caitlin? Here we go. Just what you wanted. Peanuts. Here we go. Eli, we can take those over, please. Thank you. All right, at this time, we are going to start with our writing of our students. And this was something that was a dream of the committee before we ever began to celebrate Dale County 200. We wanted for the young people to be involved. Ms. Klaus had an idea in her head that she thought it would be great that if we had the students of Dale County, along with the adults of Dale County, put down in written word and in art what Dale County means to them. And I think while you're sitting here today, probably ideas are coming all in your head about what Dale County means to you. What I've always thought since I moved here to Dale County in 1983 is that Dale County is a creative county. When I first moved here, I had never seen a place that had that many artists, that many people that wrote, that did written art, that had oil paintings, that had watercolors, crafters, quilters. We are overrun, and we just flourish with a lot of creative people in Dale County. So me, when I think about Dale County, I think of the creativity. And that is what this is going to lend itself to today. At this time, I want to present our future of Dale County. And when you look at these beautiful people people, our future looks very, very, very bright. And I've asked them just to come up in order, and they're going to introduce themselves, tell which school they go to, and they're going to read or show their artwork. So at this time, we're going to start with Eli, who didn't volunteer to go first, but he readily stepped up.
Just call.
Yeah,
Just read.
yeah, you want to tell your name and what school?
My name is Eli McNeil. I am a former student from Southdale Middle School. And this is my picture. I decided to go with Dale County Lake. I wanted to go for this painting because I really liked the nature of it with the lake and all the wildlife with a deer with a, we shot a deer once there, and you know, fish, and I'm not sure if there are alligators in there, but I'm pretty sure I saw one once. How we did the photo was my mom took multiple pictures of the Dale County Lake, and I decided to choose which one I liked the best. I chose this photo right here. And so, I painted it with watercolor, and I had some help with my aunt. She's a watercolorist, and she does pretty well. So I borrowed some colors from her. I traced the photo. Oh, I should have said that first before. And so I painted it all, and it came out looking like this. And,
My name is Isabella Atwell, and I go to Southdale Middle School. I painted this picture because it reminded me a little bit about how the people lived in the early 1900s here in Alabama, in Mobile County. And I knew that they lived in cabins and they had fields with cotton or peanuts, and so I painted this picture.
GW Long, and I will be saying what I turned in with my speech. There are several animals that live at Dale County Lake, and I will tell you a few reasons why they can be found there and how they survive there. The deer eats the Spanish moss that are found there, and it also eats some of the twigs and leaves. They have good vision and can camouflage within their environment. The squirrel also eats berries and leaves, and they can climb trees and sense when predators are near. Chipmunks also climb trees, they stay predators like the squirrel. They are omnivores and like to eat slugs, bird eggs, and acorns. The snapping turtles are also omnivores and around 1/3 of their diet includes plant matter. They are fed spectacles and snapping, but they can also fish. Some animals you can find there often are the ducks. They eat grass, small eggs, and cotton. Lastly, you can sometimes find Canadian geese from around. They're there to take a break from migration. They eat emerge aquatic grasses such as eelgrass, and they also eat leaves, and seeds, and cattails, and ducklings. Those are some animals you can find in Dale County.
My name is Michael Huffstutler. I come from Dale County. Other than that, I was pushed pretty much for this paper, and I wanted to write something that I wanted to do rather than just training an assignment. It's really what led me to thinking about it. Then I remember behind the house, we have train tracks. So that's pretty much what got me. You see me walking on a train track of Little Ayrton, music playing, or rhythm to my beat. Happy face on, dance all the way, recording. Because you're in the distance, and can't you see the truth of my path, the actual roots that plays upon me. When the night falls, I'll be walking, looking for the train, the fate to go over me. I'll see the light, hear the blame. My bones shaking, rumbling. Keep walking I go. Off the train track, past the train. No more worry, no more pain. Back on the track of Little Ayrton, I will go. Till the breeze passes, till time is no more. Till life is at rest, I am at peace. The train rumbles, the music sounds. This old town of Little Ayrton.
Good evening. My name is Ayarla Cloud. I am currently a junior from Ayrton High School, and today I'll be reading to you the history of Dale County. Dale County, Alabama, located right in the middle of the U.S., has an interesting history that goes back many, many years. Native Americans such as the Creek and Choctaw lived here, but later the area was settled on by European colonists in the early 19th century. This county was considered official in 1824 and was named after Samuel Dale, a hero in many eyes. Throughout history, Dale County has played a big role in shaping the cultural and economic outlook on Alabama. Ayrton was formed by two communities in 1906, a town by the name of Charlton that was located around what we now know as Hornsby Tiner, and the community by the name of Ariosto that is located near Highway 51. These two communities decided to join together and form a town in between and call it Union City. This caused lots of mail issues because there was already a Union City, so the community decided to take ARI from Ariosto and combine it with TON from Charlton and create the name Ayrton. Charlton had the first ever public school in the community in 1890. In 1902, Union City followed behind and also built a public school. In the 1900s, a two-story wooden school was built on the present-day campus. This school was later burned down by a couple of students who attended it in 1923. By the 2000s, the 1924 building that remained had been demolished, and the school that we now have today is left standing. In 1861, a town called Utopia was started 3 miles northeast of the present-day Ayrton. It is now known as Bethel. In this community, there were only 2 stores at the time. These stores were owned and operated by Jim McNabb and Zach Andrews. Zach also owned a bar room and retailed his whiskey for $2 a gallon. This community also consisted of 2 gyms. One was located on what is now Bar Hill and was previously owned by Henry Thomas, and the other, sometimes called Justice's Mill, was owned by Jim Sammons. A few years later in the same community, Webster Sammons operated a rice mill. The people raised rice and carried it to this mill, and eventually it was mashed and cleaned. Ayrton and different parts of Dale County have come a long way. Although this town suffered tremendously from stores and banks shutting down to the school being burned down, it still managed to somehow flourish and become the place it is today. Ayrton School is now undergoing a 2-year project that will not only serve the students with a band room, but more classrooms and a bigger lunchroom for more fellowship. Thank you.
Hey, my name is Jackson Carter. I'm from Ayrton High School, and this is my little poem. It's called All the Commandments. In the town of purple blood, as for 51 runs, there's an old whitewashed shine. Under custody bonds, our own Lord's words pierce our hearts like swords. All these rules form one simple place, tablet of Moses, and from God's grace, telling all whom willing to hear, to love their brother and to revere. Covered and disheveled, goaded to the ground, left to the elements, and given due time, it has withstood it all, proclaiming his message, to heed the words of his holy visage. Remnant of old, underneath bonds, stand testament to all, its own sublime, to correct old and gray, to grow new and green, to help the lost, despite its lost sheen. a small town sacrament to keep the old commandments.
She's gonna tap dance for you while we wait.
Hey, my name is Catherine, and I'm from GW1, and I did a postboard on where I live. It's called Arduino. That's the schoolhouse. That's where we always vote. That's in my grandparents' yard, and that's the old post house, post office. I've lived there all my life. And most of the pictures I got from Miss Helen. And I went to that church some. It's really small, and sometimes we call my granddad the unofficial mayor of Arduino. That's all.
And I'm also a junior at Ayrton High School, and this is the growth of a small community. The name Ayrton comes from two communities that came together in 1906. Before then, the community known as Charlton was located close to present-day Hornsby Tire. The community known as I can't say that, and Riosta was located around the Universalist Cemetery on Highway 51. Both of these towns were named in honor of railroadmen. Then both communities decided to come together and make one modern town between the two. The name was going to be Union City, but there was already another Union City in another part of Alabama. The post office made the town change its name because mail was getting confused between both of the Union cities. The post office created a name that involved both Ariosta and Charlton. So they took the first part of Ariosta, A-R-I, and the last part of Charlton, T-O-N. That's how Ayrton came to be. The first public school in Ayrton was a two-story wooden building that was built on the present-day campus in the early 1900s. In 1923, the school was burned down by students that went to the school, along with the principal's house. The school was replaced with a modern brick building, and it was opened to the public in 1924. Then in 1980, a new elementary school was built because of the increased enrollment of younger students. In 2000, then 1924, the building was demolished, even though many people were against it. It was replaced with Ayrton High School that is there today. 8 classrooms were added to the elementary building in 2013. A state-of-the-art greenhouse was added to the agri-science department. In 2019, the year that the school was out almost all the time, was the best time to start construction on a new gymnasium. After all of the new renovations were done, the new concession stands and gym houses were used during football games. There are approximately 820 students in pre-K through 12th in Ayrton High School. There are only 9 seniors in the first graduating class. There are 68 in the graduating class of 2024. Ayrton employs 82 people from the center of the community. The community is known for tremendously supporting the school and taking pride in itself for providing a quality education to all ages of people supporting the school, to all ages of people in the community. This school also has a very rich history and tradition of academic and athletic excellence. Ayrton won their first state championship in 2023 in baseball, and it was one of the most celebrated wins in Ayrton history. Ayrton has grown in sports and in its community more than anyone could ever imagine.
Hi, my name is Joshua Anderson. I'm from GW Long, and my report was on hometown here.
Joshua, you want to tell them about it?
So this is a crowbar. The story I wrote about was the Warren Bunker situation from 2013. And my dad worked for the sheriff's office at the time. He was a lieutenant, and this is one of the crowbars they used to demolish a replica of the bunker that the gunman and hostage were in when the hostage rescue team needed to train for going into the bunker. So on January 29th, 2013, a hostage crisis lasting almost 7 days began near 231 in Midland City. Jimmy Lee Dykes, he was a 65-year-old Vietnam War veteran, boarded a Dale County school bus, killed the driver, and took a 5-year-old boy hostage. The boy's name was Ethan Gilman, who was a kindergarten student at Midland City Elementary School at the time. On the afternoon of February 4th, law enforcement entered the bunker and rescued Ethan Gilman, unfortunately having to kill Dykes in the exchange. Jimmy Dykes he lived in isolation and supposedly lost contact with his 2 daughters years before the incident, according to people who lived nearby. He had previously lived in Florida, where he was arrested for brandishing a weapon in 1995, and in 2000, he was arrested again for marijuana possession charges. He moved to Midland City, where he warned children not to enter his property and built a speed bump to prevent motorists from driving too fast down the street. The day prior to the kidnapping, he was due for court for a hearing on a menacing case in which he allegedly fired a gun at neighbors. Dykes had cleared a path on his property for school buses to take and had started talking to the bus driver, Charles Poland, around a few months prior to the incident. Just after 3:30 p.m. on January 29th, Dykes boarded the bus that had stopped in Midland City and told the driver that he wanted to take 2 children, 6 and 8-year-old boys, from the bus. The school bus driver, 66-year-old Charles Albert Poland Jr., refused to let him take the children and challenged Dykes to shoot him. He blocked access to the aisle of the bus while Dykes continued to argue with him. Dykes fired 5 shots, killing Poland, and left the bus, taking Ethan Gilman, a 5-year-old autistic student from Midland City Elementary School, with him. After he left the bus with Ethan, the remaining students left the bus to the front door, having passed by the body of Poland, who many of them had known for years. Authorities indicated that there was no pre-existing relationship between Dykes and the hostage. 15-year-old Trey Watts, who was a student present on the bus, was the first person to call 911 when Dykes began to board the bus. After the shooting, Dykes took Ethan to a 6-by-8-foot bunker underground on his property. The bunker contained homemade bombs and was equipped with a PVC ventilation pipe. Hostage negotiators cooperated with Dykes in an attempt to obtain Ethan's release and bring the incident to a favorable conclusion. Soon after the shooting and abduction, Dykes called 911 and gave instructions on how to communicate with them. FBI hostage negotiators arrived at the bunker and began communicating with Dykes through the ventilation pipe as he instructed. Because Ethan had Asperger's syndrome and ADHD, Dykes accepted medication for him set through the bunker hatch along with a coloring book and crayons. It was later confirmed that Dykes wanted a specific female reporter to hold his hand while broadcasting him live from the bunker, and that he had plans to commit suicide on television. Investigators also revealed that he had been training Ethan to detonate the improvised explosive devices inside the bunker. On February 4th, at 3:12 p.m., the FBI's hostage rescue team breached the roof of the bunker using explosive charges after negotiations had begun to break down, and they saw, using a hidden camera, Dykes holding a gun. The way they actually got in was the medication that they were sending through. They had to provide it daily. So during that, they planted the explosive charges and detonated them to make sure the hatch would come off, as Dykes normally sealed it just after their exchange. The agents threw stun grenades into the bunker before exchanging gunfire with Dykes, killing him and rescuing the boy. Ethan was taken to the hospital and was reported to be in good condition. According to sources, 2 improvised explosive devices were discovered, one inside the bunker pipe, the other inside the bunker. Ethan experienced instability in his home life in the years following the incident, which led him to be placed in the foster care system, where the Turner family met him and eventually adopted him. Ethan Turner, otherwise known to many as the boy in the bunker, is now 17 years old and resides with his family in Abbeville. Though some scars are hard to heal, Ethan is happy and healthy. Today, the property is owned by someone else, and the bunker is long gone thanks to the efforts and hard work of the Dale County Sheriff's Office, the FBI, and many others. Charles Pullen is the true hero of this story, and he is one of many heroes who have called Dale County home.
Hi, my name is London Slauson, and I painted Christmas City. I'm a junior at Ayrton High School. I decided to paint Christmas City because I noticed not a lot of people were doing anything related to it, and I've always felt it was a pretty big part of Dale County. I painted it with acrylic paint. I had a lot of fun doing it, and this is my painting.
Y'all are going to get a chance to stand because we're going to give these beautiful people a standing ovation. Thank you so much. That honestly, that tells you our future is looking really bright, but also how important history is to them. And that really speaks well of their teachers and their parents and grandparents. And Catherine didn't say, but she also brought the Arcuda Band from Dale County today too. The Arcuda Band was the beautiful music that you were listening to coming in, and they're going to play after. Also, before we move on to the adult winners, I would also like to recognize the lovely First Lady of Ozark, Miss Lori Blankenship, brought her husband, the mayor, here today. Thank you. And Councilwoman Leah Harlow, who also serves on the Dale County 200 Committee, Mayor Blankenship does also. She's been an invaluable asset to helping us get a lot of things done. Thank you. We very much appreciate you. And now we're going to see all this beautiful talent is going to turn into this talent that we're getting ready to hear. At this time, we're going to talk about the creative essay winners. And before we proceed with the adult awards, I'd like to mention there are several others who submitted stories and poems that were thoroughly evaluated by a panel of judges. We had a really thoughtful panel of judges that took their time, read everything, and really, I mean, they sweated over it. They worried over it, and they came up with the winners, but they said everyone that submitted something was definitely a winner and a winner for our community. Their scoring resulted in exceptionally close scores for winning entries that you will hear today. We are pleased to present to you the top scored winners in both the creative stories and the poetry competitions. We will announce the highest scoring entry in each category, honoring the talents and creativity of these wonderful writers. And our first creative story is Saving Treasures by Helen Taylor Andrews, and hers is first place. And she is going to read it for us today.
I learned to play recently and I learned to project. I told Margie to never call me again. If I see her name while I'm cooking supper, I just Saving Treasures. Sometimes the lady here in this house will mop around me. Occasionally, a broom will sweep past my legs. This reminds me of my early years, back right after I was made. If you have a minute, sit down and I'll tell you my story, or provenance, as my owner might say. You see how I am now? All stacked with blue willow, cut glass, and even jadeite. I wasn't always a storage for unused pretty things. Back in my day, I worked. Let's see, I think it was 1909, and I was just a new thing, all shiny and pretty, with my skinny oak legs and taut screen doors. Back then, the hinges on my sides were new and not stiff like they are now. If you look closely there on my side, either one, you'll see my hinges. I fold up, you see, so that folks can take out the contents, remove my drawer and 2 shelves, lift off my top. See? Watch this. Whoops, I can't do it now. The lady here has too much stuff in there. I can barely move, but believe me, I fold up and can stack it to a neat pile. Hey, don't get me wrong, I love this lady. She rescued me from a pile of garbage. I had been living with a tenant family, and life had been good for many years. Years of pies, bowls of peas, corn, plates of fried cornbread, and yes, even an occasional cake. You know, back then, folks didn't have refrigerators to store their food, so they'd put the leftovers in me for the afternoon or overnight. My screening would keep out the bugs and varmints. The back door was open most of the times, and the chickens would wander in if not kept shooed away, or the dog. Some folks kept their food on the table covered with a cloth until the next meal time. Others put their food back into the oven where it would stay until supper. My job then was to hold plates, platters, and bowls, or a bowl of milk. My drawer would keep the forks, spoons, and knives clean and handy. One lady who owned me kept her pretty tablecloths in my drawer, and I felt special then, all pretty and useful at the same time. The next owner moved every year. I'd be taken apart, stacked, and thrown in the back of a wagon. The roads were either rutted or rough, or so muddy that the mules would struggle to make it up the slopes and hills. I'd rattle and shake, scared I might get thrown off. My legs would get wet every Tuesday or Wednesday from the mopping with a corn shuck mop. That's why they're sort of rough and skinned up. Yes, I will admit, a little wobbly too. Wars came and went, but my life continued to stay the same. Grandmas, mothers, little boys with grubby hands, and tired farmers opened my door so much my hinges got loose and one of my doors sagged. My pulls were lost. I don't remember where. I was passed down to another family member, a girl who married and was going to set up housekeeping. She was young and wanted me to look better, so she slapped a quart of green paint on me. Years later, a coat of red, then white was added, and another, and finally a coat of dark brown paint on top of the others. Yep, I was held together with paint, but I could not breathe. I felt like I was withering inside. The woman raised her children, and soon they were gone. I was left in the corner of the kitchen where I caught dust. My screen had rusted and rotted away. My doors were sticky. My top was ruined from the rain that came from above. The tin roof leaked, and it looked up if I looked up at just the right angle, I might see stars through the little nail holes. My next owner was the mother of my present owner. She and her dogs, my owner, found me and pulled me piece by piece from a pile of lumber left by my last owners. When they moved away, I was alone. My new owners oohed and awed over my hinged sides and lamented over my damaged top. The father was brought in to construct a usable top from scraps he'd found by adding a piece of masonite. I was still an ugly mess with layers of paint, but alas, I was dry and used daily. The mother kept me for many years. I was used for storing everything from CC snuff to toilet paper and bath cloths. Then one day her daughter got me, folded me up, put me in her truck, and carried me to a new home. The daughter, my present owner, loved me so much that she took me apart, piece by piece, stripped off all those horrible layers of paint, bathed me with mineral spirits, and finally soothed me with tongue oil, repaired and oiled my hinges, dusted and cleaned. I felt pampered. She got new screening for my doors. Now I gleam in her dining room light. My golden oak is still a little stained, and a tinge of green remains in places, but she realized my worth and beauty. My feet now rest on terracotta ceramic tile. I am surrounded by pretty plates, oil lamps, and chickens. Plates with chickens, statues of chickens, while peacock feathers stick on my right side. She has stuff in me, chicken feathers on top of me, and things under me too. Now when folks come to visit, she brings them over to me to touch my worn edges and to peer into the shells that hold the treasures she's collected over her married life. I have my every nook and cranny filled with mementos of a lifetime of love. She tells them what I hold, and I listen to her voice, loving her for loving me. This is Grandma Taylor's cut glass pitcher and tea glasses, she says, as she holds up the small glasses with the worn gold rings. This belonged to my mom. She put fried chicken in it, she says, as she points to the platter with a tiny bouquet of flowers in the center. It's brown and crackled from age. A cut glass dish belonged to her mom cook, her mother's mom. I hold stacks of blue willow, red brown dough, and polychrome willow, even pink willow. I hold it all. Her blue willow handled forks and spoons and knives rest in my drawer along with vintage napkins. They're old, like me, but loved, like me. Yes, she's a collector, and she's collected a lot. I'll hold it for her, gladly. I will be passed on one day, and I will repeat my history over and over. Who will listen or remember my story?
That was beautiful. How many of you have a piece of furniture like that? I bet I could see several of you thinking, oh my goodness, I'd love to find something like that. That's wonderful. Thank you, Ellen, for letting us all dream just a minute about a beautiful piece of furniture. At this time, I would like to recognize Miss Rhoda Children Hall, and she is the second place winner. I'm sorry. She wrote the story, I Want to Go There for a While. Even the title sounds so comforting. I want to go there for a while.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to project pretty well. My husband tells me I do it. I'm Rhoda Children Hall. The Children comes from 200 years ago, minimum, in Dale County, Barbuda, as you wonderful young people talked about, and Skipperville, or as my dad would say, Skipperville, you know. You all probably knew my mom and dad, Harold and Joanne Childry. If you had your carpet cleaned or if you had an Electrolux, you know my mom and dad. So, the hall actually comes from the handsome gentleman back there with the phone. He's my husband. So, anyway, I wrote this back in 1999. I'm not a writer. I've written some things, just for fun and went on inspired and so forth. But I lived away for a long time. I graduated from Carroll High School in 76, okay? And I moved away, lived my life, and was in Atlanta with my husband. And, you start missing home. And you'll see that in a lot of these writings, as you're older, you'll write things about things you remember when you were younger. So that's what we're doing. And so I wrote about, this is a little story about being raised at the end of a dirt road in Ewell, okay? And I wouldn't have had it any other way. We had so much fun. But that's where this comes from, okay? I want to go there just for a while. I'll slip my hand through the curtain and ease through time. I want to go back there to feel the sand and the dirt warm on my bare feet. The freedom, the carefree afternoons as I walk up the dirt road to Faye and Tim's house. I see the plum bushes on both sides of the road. The plums barely big enough to eat, so anxious to taste the tartness. I bring a little salt in the palm of my hand. Oh, there's one, just a touch of orange. And I bite off just enough for the salt to stick. I pinch off the little wormhole, take a bite, and spit out the seed. Below, the blackberries are at their tart stage. My hand slips through the briars to reach that one that is ripe. These little things that make my mouth water. Now, as my eyes are closed, they are filled with bittersweet tears for the memories that are so real I can taste them. I move on up the clay road, freshly scraped by the bulldozer. The dirt is piled on both sides of the road. Ooh, clumps of dirt dried by yesterday's sun, just right for a dirt clod fight. No feelings of anger, only laughter and the freedom to play and just be a kid. I see Merle with her bonnet on to shield her from the sun as she makes her rounds to get the day's eggs. She's cooking again. The smell of her dinner, probably greens and cornbread, offering me to sit down and have a bite. Now, Faye, y'all better get in here and wash your hands. Tim, get in here and eat. The old sewing machine sits in the corner. Merle's been making Faye some bloomers with ruffles around the bottom, her foot pressing the pedal as fast as it can go. So many memories down that old dirt road. They're all here in my head and my heart. I'll go there another day, but for now, it's been a real pleasant trip.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. How many of us remember that the best fruit were those plums on the side of the road? And y'all, they used to be everywhere. And the blackberries. And now, you have to go to the grocery store. But those were the best. Thank you for taking us back. Gosh, I'd like to go there for a while also. What I wanted to say about Rhoda is an author herself. And she is going to read a few of the other poems in a moment. But before we get to that, we have another writing by Miss Helen Taylor Andrews. And this is something that I've always found fascinating, sweeping the yard. Sweeping the yard and more. So again, Miss Helen Taylor Andrews.
If I'd known y'all were coming, I would have baked a cake and swept the yard. I heard that expression in my younger days. That would have been a lot of work to welcome visitors. Now we have lush grass lawns, manicured to perfection, using zero-turn lawn mowers. We use weed whackers to control weeds and add mountains of pine straw mulch to keep our yards looking pretty. Not so in the 40s and 50s at my grandparents' house. They had clean swept yards, and a weed would not dare to grow around their yard. Roses, bridal wreath, and a coral vine by the front porch made up the landscaping, although north of the house were the stand of pecan trees. Grandpa Taylor's yard always fascinated me. It was always clean, bare of weeds, and the flowers, roses, and bridal wreath were pretty, although the sandy soil always looked dry. They had a well for water, and I imagine that during very dry spells, Grandma would have the boys draw up buckets of water from the well to keep our precious plants alive. The boys included my daddy, Maxie, who was the youngest of 6 boys, and 1 sister, Edna, the youngest. Kids would play marbles in the yard, cleaning the spot until there was no excess sand and the marbles could roll easily. We girls played with jar lids, a rusty can, twigs, pushing them around, imitating car and truck sounds, or play kitchen, stacking bricks to make our stove, and the jar lids would hold food, dirt. No, I never ate any, but I think my sister did. Grandpa Taylor used gallberry limbs to sweep his sandy yard. The limbs were tightly bound together and were rough on the hands, but did an admirable job on leaves and debris. Broom sedge brooms were used in the house, but I have seen folks use them as well in the yard, but they don't hold up as well as the strong gallberry brooms. A hoe would be used to dig up the occasional weed that dared sprout on the table place. Clean swept yards originated in West Africa and were a tradition brought to the South during plantation times. In my research, I found that dogwood or other shrubs and trees were also used to make the brooms. Porches were swept with broom sedge and dog kennel brooms, and as well as the house interior where the floors were wide, part-time lumber. I was told that my great-great-grandmother, Lucinda Parker Taylor, lived in a house that had a dirt floor. So I imagine a broom sedge broom was used there too. It makes me sad to think about it and realize how hard times were for them. There was a reason for the clean swept yards. Folks were always looking to prevent fires. Farmers would burn their fields to rid them of weed seeds, and even forests were set afire to clean the underbrush when clearing a new ground plot of land that had never been planted on and had nutrients for the plants, as opposed to a field that was planted year after year and the nutrients were depleted. The burns were controlled for sure, but if a house was nearby, the danger of fire getting to the house was real. Clean swept yards kept the fires away from the houses and outbuildings. Folks hung clothes in the yard, sunning bedding in the yard, and dried fruit in the yard on a piece of tin. Daddy told me about scaffolding built just to put the mattresses out to be sung. The men would take the mattresses out to the scaffolding where they would bake in the hot summer sun. This was a ritual that happened several times a year. Pillows and quilts would also be sung, either on the porch or nearby fence. The old house with its sandy yards, the rustic log corn crib and smokehouse, the wash house and double cedar outhouse, the chicken pen and the barns across the road still remain as bittersweet memories. I'd love to go back in time, perhaps for a while, just to visit, or to get a cutting from Grandma's roses and help Grandpa sweep the yard.
Thank you so much, Helen. Before we start with the poetry, a beautiful work of art is hanging in the foyer today. It's the Bicentennial Quilt, and the quilt was the brainchild of Diane Klaus, and it was put into motion by the front porch quilt shop and the library and 30-something quilters. But I never realized how much art there goes into quilting. There's a lot to it. So if y'all would take a look at it before you go today. It's a beautiful work of art, and we're in the process of trying to find its home. But to read our poetry winners today, Ms. Rhoda has agreed to read them. The second place overall writing winner was Ode to Summer by Carol Lutfield, and it's going to be, or the first place was in the poetry division was Carol Lutfield, and it's going to be read by Ms. Rhoda. And she is also going to read Apaches by Adam Kramer, and My Hometown is Their Hometown by Leah K. Campbell.
All right, you ready for this marathon? It'll be 3 different people. I really enjoyed studying these poems by these 3 people, and I thank you for asking me to do this. They're just lovely. The first one, as she said, is by Carol Lutfield. Everybody's having trouble listening to this. Okay. And it's called Ode to Summer. And what Carol wanted to say to you all is an introduction. She says, I love Southern life and culture where the tea is sweet and my heart is always blessed. I wasn't born here, so I'm Northern by birth and Southern by choice. And I'm grateful for friends who have made me a part of a larger family. Our lives are rich in stories, folklore, and history. Thank you for this recognition and honor. And here we go. Slow and drawling, lazy and sweet as sorghum, fanning days and yawning nights, dragging our feet, it's too hot to eat. Front porch chatter and cold, sweet teas, white wicker chairs and an old settee. Sounds muffled and cloaked hang heavy in the pre-dusk heat. A concerto of ice cubes in old glass tumblers, raised in ritual against an opalescent sky. Hearts applaud, the sun takes a bow, night brings a sonata of fresh sounds now. Feet swing aimlessly, moonlight overhead, jasmine clings to our senses like warm honey on bread. The cadence of our days tap out the rhythm of sweet summer blues. Another memory takes flight. Distant thunder promises hope for tomorrow, while the wail of a train whistle croons soulfully in the night. You can see why she got that. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, the next one is she said, called Apache by Adam Camaro. I'll deepen my voice to be Adam. Adam wants y'all to know this about him. He says one of the test flight routes for the Apache helicopters at Fort Novosel flies near the house Adam grew up in. When he moved away from Ozark for college, he realized just how much he missed the sound of them. This poem was inspired by that comforting sense of home. The Apaches whirl low and loaded over the house today. They rattle the timbers, they waver the trees, shaking off twigs and the empty nest of last year's birds. There are all kinds of birds in the air here. The broad black wings of bickering crows, the silent gliding circles of hawks, distant chinook, and low Apache. My father would know the variation by the shape of the nose or the rotor's whoop. D model from A, but I know them only by lazy or rushing, by swoop or hover, when the sky is blue. Day and night, when the weather is nice, you hear them call to each other. The stutter and cough of the gun on the nose, the single boom of rockets on the range. Nowhere else has these kind of birds. Nowhere else goes loud enough without them. Isn't that wonderful? The neat thing about reading someone else's poetry is that I can brag on it. And we can't get up here and brag on ourselves, but I just thoroughly enjoyed that. And I even called my brother, who was a retired Master Chief in the Navy, who worked on these birds. And because some of the things I'm like, okay, now what does that mean? So the more I learned about this, it's just so awesome. I hope y'all enjoy that. Okay. Now let's do the last one. And this one is by Leah K. Campbell. It's called My Hometown is Their Hometown. And what she wants you to know about her. She has considered Dale County home base for about 28 years. Even when she left for college, Ozark was still home. Now she is excited to raise her daughters in the town where she grew up. Leah has written a few Christian children's books and is currently illustrating her first. She hopes to have her first completed book published in early 2025. So you should be on the lookout for that, because this is, again, a lovely poem. I breathe in familiar air as I walk through the doors inside, gripping tiny hands now on both my left and right side. The church's layout is a map of a small part of my past. Will my daughters know it too? Is that how memories will last? The old family store has been replaced, but my girls ride by that old mural, memorizing both the face of Indian and soldier, like I did as a girl. Will they make friends that they see throughout their childhood around the town? Will Ozark be the Ozark to them that it was to me as a child? The ice cream shop's in a different spot than when I was growing up, but if you cross the street a bit, you'll see where I used to get a cup. My name is no longer on the fence down at Kids Zone Park. and they'll never meet their grandpa who helped to build that park. But now it's got a splash pad, so they won't be dismayed. They'll barely think of times gone by until maybe their own kids come to play. They'll learn new parts of town and meet new people who have moved here. Events will be in different spots, and they'll find new things to do here. But this town will always tell the stories of my past as I ride by the Civic Center or where I went to class. I take them to the lake now, where I used to feed the ducks and geese. They've got their library cards now from a new building on a new street. It's different now, but still the same in many of the ways. I'm glad my hometown is their hometown. We get to share this place.
Rhoda, thank you so much for putting Carol and Adam and Leah's words to us today. I think all of them captured a little piece of this. And word to the wise, we want y'all to make Dale County your home. We need you. As you can see, we need you. Our final poem today is by Miss Amy Swain. Amy is a teacher at Arrington High School.
Many of these students are mine, and I'm happy to call them that. They enthusiastically participated when I gave them the call. We were asked to participate as part of our school community service to write some things relating to the 200th anniversary of Dale County's beginnings. And as part of that, Mr. Baker came and spoke to my classes, and he gave them a lot of the history that you heard, the things about the founding of the town and the school and things of that nature, and all kind of interesting stories about relatives and pictures, everything that you can imagine. As for me, myself, I am a product of Dale County. I graduated from Carroll High School, and many of the people that are here poured into me, and I'm hoping that my students will allow me to continue to pour into them whether they like it or not. So y'all are stuck with me, guys. I'm sorry. I wrote a poem entitled Modern Day Mayberry, and this is what I call Arrington, because I actually am from Ozark, but I came to teach at Arrington probably 7 or 8 years ago, and I had a student teacher this past semester, and when she came in, I said, now this is different. This is like Mayberry. And I know that you all are familiar with the Andy Griffith Show. There's something about Arrington that reminds you of the simple purity and the love that the people shared there. So that's where I came up with the idea for this. And this actually was a model that I did for my students when I presented the assignment to them, so that maybe it would spurn some ideas for poetry of their own. Sunday church and the faint chorus of In the Garden, a smile, a handshake, a hug, followed by fried chicken on the grounds. Dirt roads, kudzu billowing thickly along both sides of the gully. Baseball lights and the roar of a crowd enthusiastically chasing the sharp crack of the bat, and a dozen boys in purple jerseys haphazardly painted with red clay, yelling "Who dat" at the top of their lungs. This is a place where the kids still stand for the pledge and hold hands to pray over their lunchtime meal. A place where one neighbor stops to help another in a time of need. A place where the tents and the grills and the homecoming floats still line the streets on cool fall afternoons. The Pea River Bridge stands sentinel on the northern side of town, and if you look closely, you can still see the faded signs of the Dixie Dandy, at advertising port for sale, and the ghost of Thomas Jacobs, Big Mama Thornton, and Miss Mary Big Paramore waving to passersby from an old gas pump as the passersby electric cars fly through the single flashing light at the only intersection in town, where the roads will take you to more glamorous places with strip malls and Starbucks. Life here is slower, it's simpler, it's happier. Stop and stay a while. You'll be glad you did.
special guest today, I want to thank them. You were greeted at the door in the red jackets by the Carroll High Eagle reps. And you'll see them around town a lot. They do a lot of greeting and a lot of social events, but also a lot of school events. So thank you to Carroll High Eagle reps for that. And thank you to Ms. Caitlin Cummings. Wait, Caitlin, she is filming this for today so that we'll be able to capture this moment. But before we go on today, none of this would have been possible without the support of many people. The one in particular is Mr. Nupi Cosby, who has graced us today with his presence. We're so glad to have you in Dale County today. And I'd like for you to come forward. He has a few words for us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Ms. Rowland, you want to read what I got? You might do a lot better job than me. I know you're probably wondering, what is he doing here? Well, as I was introduced as Nupi Cosby, I work with a group called Wiregrass RC&D, which is one of the sponsors here. So I'm not using the microphone, so I'm going to try to, what was that y'all said? Project. I'm going to try to project also out to the audience here the best I can. The Wiregrass RC&D is a non-profit. We're funded by the state legislature, so Representative Klaus and all your legislators have been very supportive of our organization for over the years to do community projects. And Monica Carroll is our current chairman, and Ronnie Davis is the executive director of Wiregrass RC&D. So I just want to give you a little background, and we, I think, what sponsor are we? We're one of the
best sponsor you can have.
We are a $25,000 sponsor, and we're glad to be able to do that. So I first, I do have some remarks, and to say, and because I want to share, and it's selfish. Okay, it's selfish. I apologize for being selfish. I want to share about my roots of Dale County. First thing, and you think, well, he's from Selma. What kind of roots he got in Dale County? Well, it's going to be surprising. It was surprising to me. So I want to first thank, of course, and commend the Dale County Bicentennial Commission. All of y'all, I know you're here, many of you. You want to raise your hands up high so we can again see everybody that participated. There you go, ladies. There you go. Okay. So they've done a great job, and your efforts to highlight the history of Dale County not only brings the memories of old folks, but young folks. And I think that's what's so important, to be able to bring the youth together to see and understand the history of the past. So I know y'all are going to learn a lot from this and learn about the ancestry of Dale County. So I don't think, I'm going to have to read this because I never could remember it, okay? 75 years old, I can hardly remember to get up in the morning sometimes without the alarm clock. So I don't think we can separate heritage from heritage. Heredity. I don't think we can do it. Heredity, when we think of heredity, we think of traits that we have or inherited from our ancestors, our height, our hair, our eyes, our color, and even the mannerism and temperament and personalities that we have. Those are the things that we inherit from them. This gene pool that we're all mixed up from many, many generations of people. So it's easy to question. Okay, so where did I come from? How did I get here? Why did I do what I do? So I've asked that question a lot about my own self. So what do people see when they see you coming? Who is it in your ancestry that they may see? We don't know who that is, but it's somebody. It's somebody, because our microphone, who we are, what we are, how we present ourselves is always on. The way we act, what we do, we're always heard and seen. It doesn't matter where we are. So this is our heredity. It's coming. It's coming at one another. But our heredity creates our heritage. what we've seen today, what y'all have presented, what the poems have presented. So all these things are part of our traditions, customs, values, and culture has been passed down through many generations. A combination of these gene pools are natural and environmental factors that can either hinder or hurt us, one way or the other. We don't know until we develop our own selves to see where we fit. Today we have seen Dale County's heredity and heritage displayed artistically, poetically, and literally through the written word. So now, I want to tell you about how I really got it. One day, I was at the State House, and I would get to use Steve's office from time to time and go in there and sit. And so I said, Steve, Representative Klaus, I want to go to Westfield. He said, you want to do what? I said, I want to go to Westfield. My second great-grandfather, as I later found out, was from Westfield. His name was Mordecai White. And he moved to Ottawa County at the end of the Civil War. He was elected to the Alabama House of Representatives in 1892. I was elected to the Alabama House of Representatives in 1978, 86 years later, serving the same area of Ottawa County. Mordecai White married Mary Clementine Edwards, daughter of Ambrose Newton Edwards Sr. So after I told Steve this story, Representative Klaus, he looked at me and he smiled. And he said, Noopy, do you have a canoe? Well, what do I need a canoe for? He's got, because Westfield is in a lake and in the middle of Fort Noblesville. That's where Westfield is. And I went, oh, okay. Well, I guess we will get us a canoe and go and see it. So he told me about the Bicentennial Committee and what was being developed there. And I thought, wow, this is a great project for RC&D to do. And then I got to thinking, okay, this is kind of selfish on me because I know a little bit about Dale counties, and I'd like for us to participate. So we got together with the local committee, and we put together the grant application. But and so today's activity is one of the many they've had for y'all. Unfortunately, when the storm came, we didn't get a chance to have a big celebration, but we were looking forward to that night. I know that was a lot of work. But Dale County has played a lot in my life without me knowing it, in my heredity and my heritage. Representative Klaus and Diane sent me a book called Playbank Memories. And, you know, thank God for people that take their time to put together historical documents that, if you don't have a copy of it, you need to get a copy of it because it really explains a lot about your community. And what I learned from this book and the Fighting 15th Alabama Infantry by James Faust really etched into me a greater appreciation about my family from 3 generations back that I really didn't know anything about. Like many Dale Countyans, my ancestors came to Dale County from Georgia to Russell and Lee counties and settled in Dale. They didn't come here until about the middle of the 1850s. And the Edwards and White families were one of those many families that came. So Ambrose Newton Edwards Sr. was married to Emmeline Jiminy Galton. And they had 8 boys and 3 girls. And this is what surprised me about them because of my interest in politics and my service, and I didn't know any of this. So Leroy Marion Edwards served in the Confederacy, and he was a mounted infantry. Ambrose Newton Edwards Jr., he served in the 15th, the Fighting 15th that fought at Gettysburg. William Archibald Edwards also served in the 15th. Young Mansfield Edwards served in the 15th. And Charles Anderson Brown Edwards, he also served, but I don't know which unit he was in, but he was the last Confederate veteran that died in Dale County, December 23rd, 1937. So they had a cousin named James Russell Edwards, who also joined at the same time. He was awarded the Southern Cross, which is the same honor as the Congressional Medal of Valor. So by God's grace, they all returned home, some wounded, some captured. Their father, and of course James' uncle, Ambrose Newton Edwards Sr., was opposed to secession. Now he was very unpopular in the community because he was opposed to secession. And his sons and his grandson favored secession. So he was a Whig. And that was a political party he was in, which we don't have that party now. We just have wigs to wear. If I had one, I'd wear one. So anyway, the Whig Party merged into what is today the Republican Party. The other party, of course, at the time was the Democrat, which is still here. My second great-great-grandfather was a Democrat. And so his wife was caught in the middle of the political squabbles of her father and her husband, and now her brothers, who had now joined the Confederacy. Can you imagine sitting at the dinner table or supper table and your family members are fixing to go off to war, and you got family members squabbling over that you should go or you shouldn't go? I mean, can you imagine that'd be a lot of fun? Could be some other fun at family tables on politics where people have different views, but that's what makes a family, right? My wife always told me the number of pages in case I drop them. So after the war, they all came home. And what was common with that war, that you would pledge your allegiance back to the United States government. So that's what the soldiers of the Confederacy had to do. Pledge their allegiance back to the United States government. There were many that wanted to continue to punish the South. They called them traitors. I mean, that's what you do in war. You punish the victim most of the time. The former slaves received little assistance because the government had no funds. Many stayed on the land with the landowners, became sharecroppers, trying to rebuild Dale County. Many left and went to the north for a new life. You see, cotton was the #1 export of the United States to all the world. And during this 4 years of the Civil War, of course, we lost the cotton market to other countries and lands and areas. So they needed to rebuild it for income. Of course, the other way to get income was to have an income tax. But after the war, there were very few people really working. So how did Dale Countyans, all Dale Countyans, resolve and look at the crossroads that they faced? They knew that they could not do anything without the guidance of their Creator. They had to resolve to go to the one that created them. So, right after the Civil War, in 1868, a little area was created between the Ozark Road and Daleville Road called China Grove Camp Meeting. Do y'all know, if you not to embarrass one way or the other, do you know anything about the China Grove Camp Meetings? Okay. So the China Grove Camp Meetings was like a huge, big revival. Thank you. A That's what it was. It was a revival. And they set up tents and plank buildings, and every year in the first Sunday of October for 11 straight years, people, thousands of people, 2, 3, 4, 5,000 people would come at a time to worship. And they would seek guidance for the decisions that they needed to make. So when I look back and think about my Dale County ancestors, I see three things. I see love of God, love for others, and I see themselves looking at themselves laughing. So let me tell you just a little bit more about this family, which is so unique to me. So William Archibald Edwards he was a son, and he became a Methodist minister. He was captured at Gettysburg, and he was sent to prison at Fort Delaware. He married Elizabeth Jones White. She was a sister of my second great-grandfather. Leroy Marion Edwards was elected to the legislature in 1874. He was the brother of my great-great-grandmother. He married Martha Love Mizell, which she's got an article written in the Playbank book. So he also served in the Confederacy. Ambrose Newton Edwards Jr. married Joanna Artis. He moved to Texas after the war and later became the first secretary to the University of Texas Board of Regents, kind of just the board that directed the affairs of the University of Texas. So here he was, but really, he was educated, but when did he have the time to do all this? And then he goes out to Texas and doesn't know anybody. So he must have had certainly some qualities to be able to be recognized for this. So he and Joanna Artis, and are there any Artis family members here today? Anybody know that they're members of the Artis, the whole Artis family? Okay, but I know of some Artis. Huh? So young Mansfield Edwards, he married Martha Artis. So two brothers married two sisters, which is common at that time. Young Mansfield Edwards was captured at Knoxville. He was imprisoned and sent to Fort Delaware with his brother. And he also moved to Texas. Charles Anderson Brown Edwards, known as Cab, as I mentioned earlier, was the last of the Confederate soldiers that died from Dale County. He married Martha Crittenden. Cab Edwards was also elected to the legislature in 1887 and in 1890. His daughter, Laura, he and Martha had a daughter named Eura Amanda Edwards. Cab also was probate judge later, I'm sorry, 1911 to 1917. So their son, Laura Amanda Edwards married Joseph Harris Adams. Joseph Harris Adams, they had a son, which you may be aware of this name now, Samuel Kirksey Adams, called Kirk, the mayor of Ozark, probate judge for 18 years, just like his grandfather. So, Judge Adams and I are second cousins, 2 generations removed. That's what they call them, 2 generations removed. And I said, Lord have mercy. I told Steve the other day, I said, I went to school, I think, with a fellow from Ozark named John Quincy Adams III. But I didn't get a chance to look at my book, but I'm going to when I get home. So then there's a sister named Martha Louise Edwards to my great-great-grandmother. She married Hope Mizell, brother of Martha Love Mizell, who married my great-great-grandmother's brother. So you can see, all of y'all can see, the big family, 8, 9, 10, 11 children, not a whole lot of people. So they marrying back and forth from one family to another, creating lots of cousins. What a great political family to have, Steve. Can you imagine that? What a bunch of squabbling, too. So, Mary Clementine Edwards married my great-great-grandfather, Mordecai White. His sister, as I said earlier, married my great-great-grandmother's brother, William Archibald Edwards. So, great-great-grandfather White was a captain in the Confederacy. He and Mary Clementine, for some reason, I don't know why, moved to Ottawa County after the Civil War. He was elected to the legislature in 1892, right after one of the Edwards brothers had left. I'm thinking to myself, wow. I mean, Steve and I, we can appreciate this because we served in the legislature. I mean, just can you imagine the communication and conversation going on between those guys back then? I would love to have been a fly on the wall. So, the younger child of my great-great-grandparent was young Mansfield White, named after her brother. And he remained in Ottawa County and became a commissioner in the Mulberry community where our farmland is today. Another son, Ambrose Patrick White, moved back to Dale County and lived with his Uncle Cap. He married Henrietta Anderson Chopper, and boy, that was a lot of choppers. Lots of choppers. Lots of choppers. Ma'am?
My husband's in that line.
Is it? Well, we could.
Probably. I knew everybody there.
So, their son, Ambrose Patrick White, later became sheriff, and so his grandson, James Mordecai White, became a judge in Gibb County. So I was in the legislature one day when they were voting on the pay raise for judges. And so my old cuz, Judge White, came to see me and said, I sure do hope you can vote for this pay raise for us judges. I said, well, Judge White, I'm not sure if I can vote for it. I need to kind of go back home and check with the community and people and see how they feel about this pay raise. You know, money's kind of tight. He said, oh, well, all you judges are for the pay raise. Don't worry about that. All the judges are for the pay raise. I said, well, I'm sure the judges are for the pay raise, but I'm not sure the folks want to vote for the pay raise. He said, well, can't you just do something for your kinfolk? I said, now, Judge, that changes the whole dynamic of the conversation. I said, I think I can. He said, well, that's exactly what I wanted to hear. Now, I'm not proud of everything my ancestors did. And some of the things they did, I wonder why they did it. But I'm not here to condemn them for the decisions they made. What I am here to do is to commend them and all the other people from Dale County that grew up during this time, for they redeemed themselves. And they understood that their role was to serve their community and sacrifice for others. The way my great-great-grandmother sacrificed for her 2 children when they moved to Ottawa County, their house caught on fire. Talking about houses catching on fire. The house caught on fire and she went back in to save them, and her dress caught on fire and she died. But they were saved. So sacrificial love from a mother is never understood until you have to go through it. There's a song called Something in the Water. Well, there's something in the water in Dale County. In the Pea River, Choctawhatchee, I don't know what it is. There's something in this water here that's made all of our ancestors who they are, what they are, and the kind of people they are. Your people too. Today's generation as well. And that water has spilled into this soil we call the wiregrass. The soil that was rich in cotton and had to be turned into peat because of the boll weevils, and you all know about that. But whatever's in this water, we all have. And as I said earlier, that makes us who we are. One more thing, my wife is from Enterprise, on top of all that. Her father was a Maddox from Elba, and her mother a Brunswick from Coffee Springs. Now, I hope what my message today is encourages you to research and study your own family's history. You're going to find some skeletons, but you're going to find some things that's going to be pleasing to you. So I want to thank you for letting me have this time to share with you about my proud heredity and heritage of being from Dale County. You are truly above the best.
Thank you so much, Mr. Cosby. You are Dale County, so we appreciate it. We're claiming you for sure. Today has been just a great day, and I hope that you will take Mr. Cosby's challenge and trace your family history, but also kids, y'all keep doing what you do. Keep your art up, keep your writing up. It will be something that we'll take moving forward. Ms. Heather.
One more thing, like to come on up.
Yes.
Y'all good?
Good.
See y'all. I Klaus let us come and entertain y'all a little bit. And I'm the music director at the Community Center. Don't mean I know anything about music or sing, but if no one's there, I'm there. This month is kind of messed up. Starting December, we get back on the groove of things. If y'all play or sing, come and join us. But we have music every Saturday night from 5 to 8 or whenever. And always got food. Lita Hancock is one of the better cooks in Dale County I know of. And she says she can't sing and can't dance, but she can dang sure cook. So y'all come join us. And no charge, donations appreciated, because we get no public funding or anything because of the renovation they've done on the place. So any amount of money y'all can give will be fine, I think 50 cents, it don't matter. So y'all come and join us every Saturday night, and I appreciate y'all letting us come. And I think we're going to pick green a little more here while y'all snacking. I appreciate it.
Before we close, I'd like for the parents to raise your hand, please. Parents of these beautiful children. Do we have any great-grandparents? But y'all, thank you so much for sharing your children. Haney is one of the teachers. Thank you so much for participating in this. If you get a chance, look on the back of your bulletin. All of these sponsors have made Dale County 200 possible. And again, on behalf of the entire committee, I would like to say thank you so much for joining us today. Please enjoy some wonderful music by the Art Good Band, and there's some treats on the table in the dining room. But thank you so much again. Thank you.